Hello there, everyone. I am not really doing anything right this second, and so just on a whim, I thought I'd make, and I saw that TJ had made a video, so just on a whim, I'm going to do a quick Puppy Turtle Reacts. By the way, I'm about just so you know, book update, I'm about halfway through a Game of Thrones, and so in about the time between now and when I said I was going to do that, that again will be when I do a vlog about that. And I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm halfway through it. No one's died yet. So maybe that reputation either comes from something they changed from the TV show or maybe just comes from this, which are, of course, the later seasons of the TV show. But anyways, enough about that. Let's watch TJ respond to some feminist comics.
Hello everyone, today
Hello.
we're going to be talking about a handful of feminist comics that have over 200,000 notes on Tumblr. I will be reading the comics to you and then telling you my thoughts on each one. Here's the first comic. This is Lucy. Lucy loved to watch Teen Titans every week on Cartoon Network from 2003 to 2006. Lucy loved Starfire. Starfire can fly! And she can shoot firebolts, and she wants to be everyone's friends, and she's loyal, and she loves Robin, and she gets her strength from the power of her emotions. For years. Thankfully, DC Comics is heavily promoting their rebooted comic aimed at new readers. Comic book Starfire is an amnesiac, emotionally detached sex prop who has no friends and doesn't enjoy things because enjoying things is super lame. I'm so bored, show me your penis. You have got to be kidding me. Lucy will never try another again. The Teen Titans cartoon had 2 million viewers. Best case scenario, a comic book will have 100,000 readers. DC Comics, bad at math. So let's talk about Starfire in the comics versus Starfire in the TV show.
Let me just state right up front, I have never seen either of those. I know some things about the comic book industry, insofar as I've heard them. I don't really read comics, and I don't really watch TV, and I avoided the Teen Titans show. Actually came on when I was a kid, but I didn't watch it for a couple reasons. But I've since heard it's good, and I probably should watch it.
In the comics, yes, she wears more revealing clothing. That is actually a central part of her character. ComicVine.com describes her like so. Starfire has an outgoing and vivacious personality that epitomizes the joy-seeking aspects of Tamaranian culture. She wears her emotions on her sleeve, loves to have fun, and often expresses herself in flamboyant ways. Tamaranians tend to wear very little clothing compared to humans, both as a reflection of their uninhibited culture and in order to absorb more solar energy through their skin and convert that energy into the power of flight.
I'm sure that's the only reason. I'm sure that there is nothing behind the scenes motivation-wise going on there. I'm sure that they just came up with this really interesting idea of this unrestrained culture that absorbs sunlight through their skin for flight. I'm sure they were just, wow. And then her clothing really revealing. The other one was like, well, who cares? I mean, it's not like anyone's thinking about sex here. I mean, why are you thinking about sex? This has nothing to do with sex. I'm sure that's exactly how it went down.
Starfire is no exception to this, and she finds the human mode of dress to be unnecessarily prudish and restrictive. She prefers wearing outfits that cover as little of her curvaceous figure as it is possible to get away with, and enjoys the obvious attention that this creates. She is openly flirtatious with men, even taken ones, and is seemingly oblivious to the jealousy she generates in other women. Starfire can instantly assimilate other languages simply through physical contact with the other person, and if the other person is male, she will usually kiss them, often without any warning, since it is more fun for her that way.
So she sexually assaults them.
However, Starfire is a born warrior, and her sweet and frivolous personality evaporates whenever a combat situation arises. She is a fierce and no-nonsense fighter and extremely aggressive in battle. When fully provoked, she can fly into a berserk. So, duality is part of Starfire's character, as it is part of the character of many real people, both men and women.
I'm sure that that's the only consideration that went into this. I mean, it's not like every single other fucking comic book heroine, at least from what I understand, dresses the same goddamn way, nearly.
Obviously, for a children's cartoon, Starfire's...
I mean, if you look at these, I guess that one back there is okay. That one's dressed, meh. Yeah, that one's okay. That one you can't tell.
personality had
I think these two are the same and these two are the same.
to be tweaked and rewritten a bit. And she was rewritten into a very naive, innocent character who actually comes across the time. So this feminist comic is basically saying we prefer the naive and insecure kiddie portrayal of a female character to her more confident and infinitely more badass comic book version.
No, that is not what they are saying. What they're saying is that they prefer the stronger, nicer version to the one that is dressed like a sex object and is done so explicitly for men to ogle at. Because, see, here's the thing. They came up with all of that stuff about a less restrained culture because they wanted to create a character for men to ogle. So none of that shit is an excuse.
Why? Because she dresses too slutty. She's too promiscuous.
No, TJ, that is not the problem. The problem is that she is objectified. She is being used as a sexual object. Whether or not you think that that is bad or not, this is not slut shaming, you imbecile.
These are the people who, if you said a girl was dressed too slutty or a girl was too promiscuous, they would chastise you and tell you that women should be able to dress and behave however they desire.
Oh my god.
This, to me, shows the superficiality of internet feminists. They don't really care what Starfire's personality is. They don't care that the comic book version is more self-assured and more in command.
Because it's irrelevant. The issue is whether or not she's being sexually objectified. Now, obviously, they can't sexually objectify a female character on a show for, like, younger children. Like, I think the Teen Titans show was for kids ages, like, 6 to 12 or something. Whereas the comic, read them are adults who used to read them as kids. Because the comic book industry doesn't have... People don't read comics anymore. But anyways, it's just... This person is dressed this way for the titillation of the male reader. They came up with an excuse for it, but that is why. It's not in that she's a slut. The problem is that she who is in theory a person, she's not like an actual person, but is in theory a person, is being treated like an object, and that encourages, it both represents the fact, it both indicates the fact that men already think of women as sexual objects, and it perhaps encourages them to do so further.
They don't care that IGN actually rated the comic book version of Starfire one of the top 25 DC heroes ever. They don't care that the cartoon version is, in contrast, naive and somewhat vapid. The only thing they care about is that one is too sexual and the other is perfectly chaste.
I think I've explained it effectively.
Feminists are the new Puritans.
Oh, fuck off! Fuck off!
So let's read another feminist comic. I'm tired of you griping that chicks in comic books are sexually objectified.
Are all of these going to be about comic books?
The dudes are too. They're big, impossibly muscled hunks. First of all, Google false
Yeah, I do that too, but...
equivalence. Being a big, impossibly muscular fantasy, and
yeah, I would suspect that.
such as myself finds attractive. Yes, because as we know, all females are ubiquitously attracted to only one type of form. Here! Let me show you what I mean. If I'm gonna get the hots for Batman, he has to be built for dexterity, not power. Let's make him more lean. And you know what? Seeing his eyes is important. They should be large and intense. Let's throw in some rosy cheeks and kissable lips. And then there's this Batman drawing. That makes me feel uncomfortable. Welcome to the background radiation of my life. The double standards of Tumblr feminists are unending. If you draw beautiful women in comics, you're objectifying and sexualizing women.
No one denies that it is possible to sexualize men. This would be dehumanizing, and in a way is. But, here's the thing, when you dehumanize a woman, you build onto a problem that's already there, and is already big, and you reinforce already existing cultural memes. When you sexualize a man, you're not reinforcing an existing cultural meme, because there is no broader idea in our culture that men are pieces of property to be owned by women. There is a broader idea in our culture that women are pieces of property to be owned by men.
And if you draw beautiful men in comics, it's a male power fantasy.
Do you understand the difference between hyper-muscular and, like, beautiful? Like, the comic explained it. Like, look at this. Look at these. Do these look like the hyper-muscular, ideally super powerful men? Do either of these guys look anything like Superman or Batman or Spider-Man? Like, I mean, come back to me when the next time Superman is portrayed in a comic book, he's fucking got no shirt on, Jacob Black style, and is like in a super revealing outfit, and is constantly really forward about his sexuality, and it's all excused away because, as we all know, Superman is powered by the yellow sun, and so, you know, dressing in very little helps him absorb power for that.
Feminists just read this shit and nod their empty fucking heads like it makes sense. Just like if a man hits a woman, it's abuse. If a woman hits a man, it's a joke.
Whoever said, like... I'm curious as to where the fuck he got that from. Or if he's just a liar and he just made it up.
If a woman doesn't shave her armpits, she's liberated. If a man doesn't shave his face the way she likes, then he's a neckbeard.
Really? That's not a fucking fucking sexist stereotype, you cretin. That's it's a joke because a lot of fuckwits like you happen to wear neckbeards, or at least it's popularly perceived that way. So you're referred to as, being neck-bearded idiots in fedoras, because that is what a lot of you have historically been perceived as wearing. That's not equivalent at all. And the fact that you think that just shows that you are just deeply fucking deluded and have apparently lost all connection with reality in the time that I've not been bothering to watch you. In fact, I have not been watching your videos in a while. Now I know you don't care, but that was just for me, symbolically. Because, yeah, then again, I just unsubscribed to you on ThePuppyTurtle Reacts, so... But I'll subscribe to you on my other channel later. Unsubscribe.
If a man draws comics full of sexualized women, he's a pervert. If a woman draws a comic full of sexualized men, hey, that's okay.
Okay, first off, no, it's not generally considered okay. Feminists generally don't care for, Twilight, which is the first thing that comes to mind when I think of something that involves really sexualized men.
There's a million of these double standards, and feminists have a million reasons why it's okay when women do it, because they're a poor, oppressed minority.
Okay. Listen to me. When women dress or are depicted, because it's not like these are actual sentient beings that are dressing that way. When women are depicted as sexual objects, it reinforces the idea in the minds of men that they are. When men are depicted that way for women, it does not reinforce such an idea because no such idea fucking pre-exists.
When they do sexist stuff, it's empowering. Woman playing with some Ken and Barbie dolls with a couple of girls, and she's saying, "Ha! I, Ken, am home from the masculine world of work. Wife, feed me while I ogle your bulbous femininity. Display for me your subservience, for I am the man." And the girl is like, "Diana is so terrible at playing house." And actually, I do not take issue with this comic. It's pretty funny, honestly. Here's the next comic. Why cleavage is bad for crime fighting. I will use two examples, Power Girl and Wonder Woman. I understand some ladies are proud of their cleavage and want to show it off, but there are some concerns. Flying at high speeds, wind resistance is an issue. The crevice created by the breasts catch air and it pulls at the fabric of the costume. Ow, ow, ow! This would cause flapping at best and worse, pull down the front. Wonder Woman has it even worse because there's no shoulder support. It's a strapless bathing suit weighed down by metal. Ack! Fighting. Even if there was good support somehow under there, you've got a big handle someone can grab in a fight. My one weakness! And Wonder Woman's worse off with that big metal handle. The one chink in my Amazonian armor. Also, what the fuck? Heels? So please, superhero artist, dress those ladies accordingly. Much better. We're really going to say that women in comics need to dress more conservatively because these outfits are impractical for fighting crime.
It's not like that's the only issue. I mean, it's... You get the... I assume you've never criticized a plot hole in a science fiction story. I know you did a bunch of reviews for thatguywiththeglasses.com before they realized how horrible you were. Or at least I assume that's what happened. I don't know, it was years ago, so maybe no one really realized how horrible you were yet back then. But there's a difference between things they're specifically covered under suspension of disbelief because they're part of the work, and things that are like plot holes. And yes, women. It's what it does. What this fact does. The lapse of logic involved in this does is highlight the fact that women are dressed like that for the titillation of the male reader. That's what it does. It shows that it's not, and it gives kind of an extra reason to complain about it. Because yeah, sure, no one has superpowers, but in general, characters in science fiction and fantasy should behave in a way that is realistic given the premise of the work. So, Spider-Man, no one has Spider-Man's powers, but Spider-Man should act in roughly the way that someone would probably act if they did. Iron Man, same way. Captain America, the same way. And of course, those are all three different characters with different personalities, but that doesn't really change that fact. That you can still criticize a plot hole in science fiction. And, like, just can't do. It's like, that argument is so absurd. That is basically the argument of the person who wants to shut down criticism of their favorite work. Well, it's science fiction or fantasy, so you can't criticize its logic. That's what you just said. That's what you just said reduces to. That follows from what you just said.
Okay. Do you think Batman's cape is practical? It could snag, it could be grabbed.
No, and that is actually a legitimate concern.
He's trying to get away. In real life, a giant cape would be nothing but a giant liability. What about Bruce Banner's pants? If we're going to talk about realistic clothing physics, transforming into the Hulk should annihilate every scrap of clothing on Bruce Banner's body.
That's a little more forgivable because there are, like, legal issues to deal with there. But yeah, in principle, I suppose you could make a complaint out of that.
The Hulk should be butt naked with his big green wang flopping around. Listen, superheroes are people with magical powers who dress in tights and fight other people with magical powers who dress in tights. They can read minds and lift trains and shoot lasers from their eyes.
Therefore, we are not allowed to complain about any plot hole or any issue with internal logic of any of their stories ever under any circumstances.
These stories are not intended to be realistic. They are intended to be pure fantasy. They take place in worlds where the laws of physics as we know them simply do not exist. Let's talk about the real reason you want to cover up these female bodies, feminists.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this. Actually, I can. Actually, I'm kind of scared about what's going to happen because it's going to be really stupid and it's going to hurt.
You don't want young boys and men ogling their big tits. That's the only reason, so be upfront about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's more complicated than that. It's an issue of objectification. It's an issue of reinforcing the already existent idea that men are property owners and women are property. That's the issue. Guiding the way you write women as characters in terms of what will titillate the male reader, while not doing that for men, reinforces the idea that women are property, or even doing it while doing it for men. Well, I don't know, I guess they can't both be property at the same time, so you might cover your bases there, but that's the issue, and you're just, you've clearly either not listened to feminists or just not wanted to understand what they say.
Say, hey guys, I know you like this, but we find it problematic, so please just go ahead and capitulate to our demands. Please just hold our sensibilities in higher esteem than your own and listen to us. One more comic. And this one's pretty simple. It's just a little boy and a little girl. They're at the Halloween costume store. And the boy has options like Dracula, superhero, ninja, and he's all excited. And the girl has options like sexy nurse, sexy vampire, sexy witch, sexy fairy, sexy bunny, sexy cat. And she looks very distressed because society is trying to sexualize her with these horrible costumes.
You do know that, just as a side note, there at least has been a sexy pizza costume available on Halloween. That's just a note that existed at one point. But, yeah, I mean, I guess the question I have to ask you, TJ, is why do you think that only happens with the girls and not with the guys? Why do you think that there aren't a load of sexy costumes for like male stuff? And when you can come up with an explanation for that works, that does not involve some kind of gender inequality, it's just you can't.
Let's go to Costume Express and take a look at these slutty costumes that little girls are being encouraged to wear.
There are a lot of costumes. Okay, first, that comic probably shouldn't have depicted the two kids in terms of age. They should have been a little bit older. When it comes to costumes for adults, or perhaps for like older teenagers, yes, there are loads of women's costumes that are sexy X, or sexy Y, or sexy Z. Like I mentioned, it's gotten so absurd that there's been like sexy pizza. I'm sure sexy witch does exist. I can't actually. The only one that's ever stuck into my mind specifically is the sexy pizza. But there are loads of Halloween costumes like that, and there are no equivalents for men. If a man wants to dress like, revealingly, for the benefit of women on Halloween, he is probably going to have to either modify his costume or make his own.
Here are the first 10 girls' costumes. Elsa from Frozen, Anna from Frozen, a different Elsa costume, a generic ice princess costume, which is basically just a ripoff of Frozen, and then there's another Anna from Frozen costume. And then finally some non-Frozens.
Yes, because those are from little girls. Those are for little girls. Okay, like this adult costumes.
Raccoon, Catwoman, Greek Goddess, Ever After High Girls, Madeline Hatter costume, and Cleopatra. Those are the top 10. Wow. I see this comic's point now. Each one of those costumes was more slutty and revealing than the last. What a terrible for young girls. I'm being sarcastic, of course.
Yes, I can fucking tell.
If you go to the adult women's costumes, things get a lot sluttier.
Yeah.
Oh wait, they're actually all pretty conservative too. You can find sexy costumes, of course, but they're hardly the majority.
And yet you can't find them for men.
They're just one of many different options available to women.
And not to men.
as is making your own costume or choosing not to dress up for Halloween at all. So this, I think we can safely say, creating a scenario that doesn't even exist, yet feminists will eat it up because they love being told how victimized they are, even if it has no basis in reality. If you'd like to see me talk more about feminist comics, let me know. And it would help too if you gave this video a thumbs up, commented on it, and shared it with your friends. I'm the Amazing Atheist. Peace the fuck out.
Hold on. Thumbs down.
Quality guest will try to go help clean your...
Thumbs down. Commented on it. All right. And gotten a... Okay, that's just a thing. So, yeah. That was fun. For once I'd done one of these that's less than an hour. See ya!